I'll be sharing about spiritual download. So, this is about being a transformer, and this is experience I had. It is sort of a follow-up to yesterday's video. When we really go in and we become connect with our spirit, there's messages from the spirit to the body, and also from the body wisdom to the conscious mind. So I had written like a few pages about it to myself, for myself. I didn't want it to be gone. And I'll just start reading and see where I get to. This is more of like the potential energy into actualize sometimes needs to have a pattern, a path. So the pattern is the old path, and it could sort of stop it. So hopefully this is sort of more of like a consciousness moving through, and it's to give strength for anyone who is working on it as well. All right. So I am that I am. God and Goddess is the truth. So yesterday I spoke how God and Goddess are not separate. It's the experience itself, the indwelling presence, and then also the observable, knowable aspect, like the information, the knowledge and the knower, and the place where is merging through the known. We're like a wire from heaven to earth for the divine to be manifest through physical form, name, action. Okay, so from above, so below, it's only necessary to be the conduit. When we keep the energy that is healing and good and pure and provide it time to not be discharged, because we then give it back to the mother or the source, which is Hashem, which we could connect with more as like the female aspect or goddess aspect of Hashem. And without children even, too. Once we need to see our creation rather than letting it grow on our back like God, earth. This way she receives like all the femininity. Like Hashem might be like, God might be like watching us, but then earth is growing us. It's like there's aspects here that Hashem grows us, maybe the feminine aspect grows us on its own back. And then there's also the watching aspect. So, and we are both. We have both elements of the witnesser and the actor, the audience and the performer inside of us. So this way she receives like all femininity. Creative energy serves through me to her like fuel for the energy. I'm meant to give her energy as love through my body. The transformer role is mine too, from head to feet to earth. They say hold it in, send it up, but they are yogi males usually that are keeping, like, how do I say this? I wrote yogi males at the time. I was talking about this masculine, like just to be in the head, and the body doesn't matter. But the ones who are able to be the witnesser and the actor would be called like a yogi master. You would say you mastered the desire to just be a witnesser or just be like be just the witnesser, the audience, and performer, actor. And so keeping us in the masculine is afraid of the dark. The dark is the unknown. It's to never really be fully comfortable there. It can't exist there. It's light penetrated. The energy that rewrites my brain because of our thoughts that can literally change the hardware it's allowing myself to receive God without shattering, taking in light till I'm full. I got greedy, but I got a sign. I saw the time I have space to receive. It's a humbling practice. Even prayer to be completely used can't be the answer, because a merciful God, of course, to not break me. Being the receptacle for God is divine circuitry, and no one else feels like receiving the most healing power to share and never give it away. So being our truest selves, each one individually, is all that is asked of us. Truth writes itself. There is a difference between a converter and a transformer. We don't change the type of electron energy for like the negative charge, but we change the speed at which they move, their velocity, refining the energy potential. Now, I mean negative because it has a positive counterbalance, not just negative. We're not talking about like bad, unwanted. We're talking about negative, positive charge, like the receiving versus the one that's looking to get and the one that's looking to give, and then they're in a relationship. So refining the energy potential in a spectral way, in subtle ways, emotional, physical, spiritual. Spectral means not on, off, but like in a spectrum. And I can be a converter and a transformer. We're acceptable, the real us. We're meant to be here, and we've been taken under the wing of the soul family, always protected and guided with many that believe in us. How can we be wicked if so many saw the God, the holy, the sacred in us? Maybe, like I was writing to myself, perhaps my father killed someone in a past life who was pious and righteous. He can't see it in his own child. This was a time that really I need to hear today, because I experienced Father's Day last night. Very difficult to give a gift and have it used against me and turned into disrespect, embarrassment, shaming, inappropriate, really immature behavior. So maybe, and I'm not trying to talk bad about my father, I'm talking about the facts. And so I wrote also, maybe I was on the wrong side of a war. This I remember learning from Joan Suval at Ananda Ashram. She was saying, you don't know who you were in a past life. Once you believe in a past life, you could say you were on the wrong side of the war, which means you hurt innocent people, women, children, maybe. And maybe, I ended up with a father who saw me as the enemy. The bigger picture, maybe my father killed me in a past life, and now he has to be my father in this life, and he just struggles really to... It's not just me, it's my siblings, it's our family, it's a lot. Or maybe it was with my parents. Like, we never know these dynamics that come out in each life, and why God arranges such for the most harmony and the least division through these lifetimes, for the whole soul. The bigger picture shows that we reached our highest potential with the family and parents that we got in this life. There's a feeling that maybe I used to feel like maybe I'm a medicine woman of energy work to see how to convert the voltages too powerful in our youth. Like the job of the scapegoat, or Eov, if anyone knows Job, Eov, the scapegoat too, and for traumatized people, how to discharge, let it pass blockages to receive love. I realized I brought resources to my father after going out into the world and showing him the way out, not leaving anyone behind, even the narcissist or the narcissistic different ones, seeing how sentimental I am, that I fear being affected and try to get control, just like my daddy. An electrician, just like my father, right? I'm talking about electric work, converting, transforming, and treating him with giving him dignity while still not sabotaging myself. And boy, do I not have that figured out yet. My soul tells the future, except by staying away. My soul tells the future. I just told someone this last night. The spirit doesn't lie. The past self is still here, and the future self is already here. So time traveling out of this moment, we are of God. And I told someone this, that, angels are the thought of God, like they have a linear path unless they're thought out in a different way. But even gravity is an angel. It doesn't choose when it wants to work and when it doesn't, but human, free choice. We go into the roots, we make a foundation with its contents, exploring my roots to understand myself, my source, my creator, true self, inner child, soul. Really, from the roots come the branches. And seeing the universe as a word for an aspect of God. Universe. Yetzer Tov is like the will toward good, is like the will toward betterness, is like Tov is like good, like not just good and bad, but like a way to say I like it, I love it, I approve of it, it's appealing to me, I appreciate it, it's what I want. So that's based on goodwill, connection, and Yetzer Hara is hurt, disconnection based. So it's like the lily with a TH at the end, so it's like lily. I don't put it all together because of the energy, versus Chava, like the first woman's breaking the potential more to receive the light. And we see we have the space to fill. The light shuts off when we can't handle more. Everyone acts when they gain because it matches their frequency. And we can keep changing our frequency. So the Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara is usually the masculine rabbis explaining why the female one is unique and has to do with loss and extraction. Male is the proactive creating boundaries for the female to shapeshift into as a response. So it's like the roots itself is like a hole in the ground for the roots. And inside of these roots, if you would remove the roots, there's still the space for them. So in a way, we have to imagine it like as we said, the light, it's like the vessel shows how much room. So by her receptivity, for example, the soil's ability to make space for the roots, for him to come into, is like the idea of the vessel making space. Where is his light allowed to be entering in? Or with our relationship with God, right? That's the first start. But we're looking at it, remember, God, goddess, like not splitting God in half, but just looking at these aspects of it. The light she receives, so he shuts it on and off. Like, will it grow in or not? And if she makes space and then the root is taken out, it's not like the soil, which is just going to fall. It is like the soil that falls back into itself at some point. But because it's conscious, living material with emotions and intellect, which we cannot necessarily attribute to soil, the beliefs and the feelings that come from that separation explain why we have a lot of pain with our losses and heartache and fear and emptiness and so on. And you can see why it's held more in the feminine, even though it's a two-way relationship. So she chooses whether or not to be consumed or possessed. She can make space and then fall back into herself. And unconscious masculine is afraid of the dark and reacts with boundaries. So if it gets too deep into the soil, it will like pull back if it doesn't know where it is or what's going on. And however, we never really had to be alone. People were always investing in us. And our humility is rewarded because the paternal and the maternal energies, genuinely people trying to help us and look out for us, we've always been supported and protected as miracles. Risking my life, wishing for death at times in my life, I'm the one I've been waiting for. I'm so powerful. Humility is knowing the weaknesses and the strengths are just areas to work with. And we can even broadcast our thoughts when things happen. For example, nowadays, neuroscience shows you have an electric aura field around you, and people are receptive, can pick up on it. Receptive is more like the negative charge, like the soil, and we could send it out. We can even want people to bring something to us. People say the experience, when you're very, very clear, you can broadcast a thought. But if you're very chaotic in your thoughts, you can't broadcast a thought. If you broadcast a thought, love, safety, people experience love and safety coming in when they're receptive, especially if they're looking for something on the outside. We can actually be that something on the outside. We can send out our roots into the soil of life. And we can get messages from our dreams and other things that comes true. And that's what secure attachment is. It's life coming through us, the masculine energy coming through us. It protects our feminine self. We're both, men, women included. We don't then become like the soil for other people's roots to come into us. And it's possible we could. There's nothing wrong with that. But the feeling of vulnerability that can happen from that, when we're in secure attachment, we're sending out our roots. God's roots are coming into us. God is not ever going to take roots out. With others, we may feel like we're the soil and they take their roots out. But with God, we can always let the roots in, and we're like the soil. And then our roots can come out, and not into people, but into life, into relationship, the space between us and others. We can send our roots into that. And then we can kind of stop sticking our roots out when it's enough, or when we get afraid of the dark and of that area, the unknown. And then the messages coming in, we're picking up messages from those points. It's not really like we're letting other people be putting their roots into us and feeding us our thoughts and our life force. So that's why it's very important with a relationship, a partnership, that it's exclusive, monogamous, and that there's a commitment and a loyalty, and that there is some level of various ways of intimacy, so that this roots and soil dynamic can be cultivated and developed properly by both serving the Creator. So through God, the proper secure attachment is able to develop. So continuing, we each have 7 worlds, because clearly God, Goddess, both sides of this, Shechina and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, blessed be He. So that's the 2 sides. So that's being present while simultaneously learning how to listen to more radio waves of different energies. It gets us high. That's what gets us into another dimension. As awareness increases, its potential energy increasing. A loving, merciful God tells the truth. A father role is teaching survival skills, a sense of well-being, by creating boundaries around it, whether it's Torah, oral Torah, we learn we need to create fence around it to protect it. But that's also the feminine, the daughter. It's like the Torah is Hashem's daughter, and each of us are Hashem's daughter. I'm not only speaking to the Jewish people. When we're in the time of, the age of Messiah, age of Aquarius, whatever you've heard, it definitely applies to everybody as much as they're able, as much as their roots, their soil, in an eternal way. So we grow into it and to grow into. So all we can do is learn to cope better and have more joy to make our time here okay enough to get a clear picture without overstimulation of what's actually going on in any given moment. So how to create our reality and choose our thoughts, let's say basic neuroscience, spirituality, psychology, each in their own way. It says you have to spend 10,000 hours on something to become an expert. And some things we end up wearing around our neck. It's called like an albatross around the neck. The first man I was really, really like in some kind of partnership relationship with taught me about that. It's the biggest struggle. At first we really like, it's like, I don't want to wear this, but then it becomes like the vulnerability and mobility as the payoff, and the resilience as an inoculation. We get to become more and more confident in it. And we can still fulfill our purpose as we get closer to expanding in the areas that are difficult. We can shine a light with non-judgmental attitude, use it as an opportunity to become more broad perspective and tolerant of our own self. It automatically trickles into every other part of life. Like I described about these roots, it's not like when the tree's growing roots, it's not saying I want to grow one root there and one root over there. It's just growing roots. And so there's some areas, right? Like they're going to be difficult, but it's going to give us payoff into all our roots. And also, as we're doing this, as things are passing through, like the sunshine is coming into the tree, but the water is coming up from the roots. Massive jolts of trauma energy cement on repeat after having adult trauma bonds that pattern our childhood trauma can cause a hamster wheel, like running without getting anywhere and wasting the energy. But actually, we might need to do that sometimes. We never got to do it. Peter Levine says we didn't get to do that running. We need to get it out of our system sometimes. We have to convert a new type of energy outside the comfort zone for our expansion, but there's always still time because every moment matters. So being creative with the anger, for example, no enemies exist, it's just reflections. It's like the relationship, the roots into the relationship, not into the person. We have to relive circumstances we didn't refine and transform or even convert if we use it for healing others too. Like my mother, a tail, the dark side of femininity, the inverse, or a new chava made of the rib or the flesh, the tail of Adam, have to step into our power the God gave us into a real way. It's like a two-way street. So stepping in is like, instead of the behind is like just sort of a tail, right? That's how I use the word. You don't know about your tail end. And it's the inverse. It's like as much as you learn about your tail as you learn about your head. The tail is part of something that has a head, for example. So a new chava is like his tail, kind of, the man's tail. So like his roots, the end point of his roots is like the soil picking up. So that's where, if it's getting its information from the tree's root, then it's like picking up the tail end. We're saying here the tail is like the root, the seed grows roots, right? So it's like, we're not calling it bad, good, better to be higher, lower. That's why I said the yogi male mentality that I had heard, where it's better to be higher, better to be only branches. You forget, but once you learn the hard way, it's not better. Then you become a master. So it's like not better just to have the branches on the outside. You really do need to do the root work. And we may call it more like the interrelationship of the feminine and masculine in the soil and the hidden, the true self, not just in appearances. It's very exciting and rewarding to conquer our fears and become more capable of anything that calls us. And mysticism is part of the experience. It's actually, for me, a regular perception. And false gods and addiction is giving our power away, because the true essence of Judaism as a lifestyle, as a law, love and compassion, Torah, truth, God, light, is all threaded. So there's nowhere that you could like not violate Hashem, Judaism, and Torah if you're trying to go from the tail end, from the roots. Like I said, if you're putting your roots into somebody, it's Hashem coming through you into your roots, but then you're trying to put the roots into you. It's like there's no space for Hashem. And it's all threaded together, so it's like a self-violation in a way when we're being the soil for the roots that shouldn't be in us. Like attracts like, and other souls are attracting us into, because like I said, it's threaded, it's a spiritual existential experience, it's a compass. So if we're acting like soil for other people's roots, we're actually upside down in a way. If we have Hashem's roots coming through us, we can still have our roots. So we have to stay confident in order to do what we're meant to do. And I'm so grateful I have another day to do better, and that I've been protected till now to, so grateful really for the belonging and to deserving to be here, and that I meant to be here, and it's happening the way it's supposed to. It's a consciousness. Be well. This is a Rosh Chodesh video. Today is a new month of Cancer, Tammuz, and so I did a double portion, thank God.